Okay, so let's be honest. The word strategy, it gets thrown around a lot. But what does it actually mean, in the business world? Today, we're diving into a classic, Michael Porter's Harvard Business Review article, What is Strategy? And hopefully,
Yeah.
we can kind of cut through all the clutter and understand how to truly stand out, you know, from the competition.
Yeah. Porter starts by tackling this misconception, that being operationally effective.
Yeah.
Kaya's strategy.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to fall into that trap
Yeah.
of thinking that if you're just doing things better, faster, and cheaper, well, that's enough to win.
Yeah, I can see how that happens. Everyone's always talking about efficiency and
Absolutely.
streamlining.
Right. But operational effectiveness, while crucial, can be easily copied. And if everyone's getting better at the same rate, no one gains a true advantage. It's like you're running on a treadmill, you're running faster and faster, but you're not actually getting anywhere new.
So how does Porter illustrate this point? In the article,
Well, he uses this fascinating example from the U.S. commercial printing industry. Back in the 80s and 90s, they became obsessed with operational effectiveness. They achieved incredible gains in productivity. But those gains, they ended up benefiting customers and suppliers more than the printing companies themselves. Even the industry leaders saw their profit margins shrink.
that's a real wake-up call. So if simply upping your efficiency isn't enough, what does Porter say strategy is really about?
He says it's about choosing to do things differently than your rivals, or doing similar things in a drastically different way. He argues that true strategy is about creating a unique and valuable position in the market.
Now that makes sense. So it's not just about being better, it's about being different.
Exactly. And one of the best examples of this is Southwest Airlines. They've carved out this
Right.
very specific space in the airline industry by focusing on
Yeah.
short-haul, low-cost flights. They often bypass major airports,
Okay.
and they cater to a particular type of traveler.
Right. And they've got all those distinctive features like their fast turnarounds, their standardized fleet of only Boeing 737s, no assigned seating, no meals.
Exactly. Think about it. They actually chose not to offer things that other airlines consider standard, but those choices aren't random. They all contribute to Southwest's incredible efficiency and low-cost model.
Yeah. It's like their entire system is designed around this unique position, making it really hard for traditional airlines to copy them.
That's precisely Porter's point. And he goes on to outline 3 key paths to strategic positioning. And he uses some very interesting company examples to illustrate each one.
Okay. I'm ready to hear about these paths. What's the first one?
The first is called variety-based positioning. And this is when a company chooses to specialize in a very particular subset of an industry's offerings. Think of Jiffy Lube, laser-focused on lubricants. They don't try to be a one-stop shop for all car maintenance needs. Or Vanguard,
Yeah.
with their focus on specific types of funds.
So they're saying, we're not going to be everything to everyone, but we're going to be the absolute best at this particular thing.
Exactly. And that allows them to develop real expertise
Yeah.
and tailor their activities accordingly. The second path is needs-based positioning, which focuses on serving the unique needs of a particular customer group.
Okay. So instead of specializing in a specific product or service, they're specializing in a specific customer.
Yes. Bessemer Trust is a great example. They cater exclusively to ultra-high net worth families, offering highly personalized services that a typical bank wouldn't even consider. On the flip side, you have IKEA, whose entire business model is built around serving the needs of young, budget-conscious shoppers who are happy to do some DIY assembly.
Got it. So they're really understanding the nuances
Yeah.
of their target customer,
Yeah.
building their entire operation around serving them. What's the third path to strategic positioning?
The third path is access-based positioning. And this is where a company tailors its activities to reach customers who are accessible in a unique way. A great example is Carmike Cinemas. They thrive in smaller towns with a lean, standardized approach. That wouldn't work in big cities. Their location dictates their strategy.
Interesting. So all of these examples, Jiffy Lube, IKEA, Carmike Cinemas, they're all succeeding by making very deliberate choices about what to focus on and who to serve.
Absolutely. But here's a question. If these companies have found such winning formulas, can't their competitors just copy them? What's stopping everyone from being a Southwest or an IKEA?
That's a good question. I'm all ears to hear how Porter addresses that.
That's where the power of trade-offs comes in, strategic positioning. It isn't just about what you do choose, it's also about what you don't choose.
So you're saying it's about making tough decisions
Right.
and accepting that you can't be all things to all people.
It's exactly. Porter argues that certain activities are fundamentally incompatible with others. Trying to do everything often leads to doing nothing well. He used the example of Continental Light, an airline that tried to straddle the line between low cost
Yeah.
and full service. They ended up with,
Operational chaos and huge financial losses.
oh, wow. It's like they spread themselves too thin
Yeah.
and ended up losing their identity in the process.
Precisely. And this is why trade-offs are so crucial. They reinforce your unique position and make it much harder for competitors to copy you. Think about Southwest again. Their decision not to offer meals or assign seating, it might seem counterintuitive at first, but it allows them to achieve those incredibly fast turnarounds and keep their costs down. Other airlines can't easily replicate that without fundamentally changing how they operate.
So it's not about sacrificing things for no reason. It's about making strategic choices that support your overall position.
Right. It's about creating a system where all the pieces fit together to create a competitive advantage. And that brings us to another key concept from Porter's article, strategic fit. Okay, I'm intrigued. How does fit play into all of this?
Well, it's not enough
Yeah.
to just have a bunch of different activities. They need to work together in a way that creates something
Yeah.
stronger than the sum of its parts. Think of it like a well-oiled machine where each gear is essential and they all mesh together perfectly.
Ah. So back to Southwest. It's not just that they have fast turnarounds, it's that those fast turnarounds are enabled by their standardized fleet, their limited service, their specific routes, even the way they incentivize their employees. It's the whole system working together that makes them so successful.
Exactly. And we see this with IKEA as well. Their self-service model, their store layout, their product design, even those iconic blue bags, it all reinforces their low-cost, DIY-friendly positioning. Each piece is carefully considered.
Yeah.
And contributes to the overall threat.
Created this unique ecosystem that's almost impossible to replicate. But how does Porter break down the concept of fit? Is there a framework for understanding how all these pieces come together?
Yes, he outlines 3 levels of fit. The first level is simple consistency. Every activity should align with the overall strategy. Take Vanguard again. Their relentless focus on low costs is woven into everything they do, from their bare bones marketing to their limited customer service options.
Okay, so it's about making sure there's no disconnect between what you're saying and what you're actually doing. Everything needs to point in the same direction. What's the next level of fit?
The second level is about reinforcement, where activities actually complement and strengthen each other. Neutrogena is a great example here. They initially positioned their soap as a premium product, partnering with upscale hotels to get it in front of a discerning clientele. This created a halo effect, making people more likely to buy it later at the drugstore.
That's really clever. So one activity is actually boosting the effectiveness of another. What about the third level?
The third level is optimization of effort, which focuses on eliminating redundancy and maximizing efficiency across all activities. The Gap is a Toastmans skit. Master of this, their rapid restocking system allows them to minimize in-store inventory while still keeping shelves stocked. With the most popular items, they're not just efficient. At individual tasks, they've optimized the entire flow of goods from warehouse to store.
So they found ways to streamline the entire system, reducing waste and maximizing their resources. This makes me think about the potential pitfalls of growth. What happens when companies try to expand their reach or offerings? Doesn't that often lead them to abandon those carefully crafted trade-offs and strategic fit?
You've hit on a crucial point. The desire for growth can be a real trap for companies. It's tempting to try to be everything to everyone, but that often leads to a dilution of their unique position.
Right. It's like they're trying to smooth their system too thin instead of making it even stronger.
Exactly. Porter calls this the growth trap. Companies fall into the trap of thinking that bigger is always better. But in strategy, often, less is more. He uses the example of Maytag, a company known for their reliable washers and dryers they got lured into, offering a full line of appliances to compete with the likes of GE and Whirlpool.
So they gave up their niche to become more of a generalist.
Yes, they broadened their product line, acquired other brands with different positions, and ended up diluting their core strength. The revenues grew, but their profitability took a hit. They traded their unique position for a generic one, and ultimately lost their edge.
It's a classic case of losing sight of what made them special in the first place. And I bet there are plenty of other companies.
Fallen in that same trap. Absolutely. Neutrogena faced a similar challenge. They started with that, kind of the skin soap, carefully marketed through dermatologists, which gave them a real aura of quality and specialization. But then they started expanding their distribution, to mass merchandisers, adding a bunch of new products, and even dipping their toes into price promotions.
So they started to look more and more like everyone else.
Exactly. It diluted their image and undermined what made them stand out. The growth trap can be incredibly seductive, especially when you feel pressure from investors or competitors. But it's essential to remember that true strategic growth comes from deepening your existing position, not broadening it beyond recognition.
So how can companies resist the allure of the growth trap? How do they expand without sacrificing the very things that made them successful in the first place?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
So we've talked about the dangers of the growth trap, where companies sacrifice their unique positions in a misguided pursuit of expansion. But how can they grow strategically without falling into
Those common pitfalls.
Well, Porter suggests that instead of broadening their offerings, companies should focus on deepening their existing strategic positions. Think of it like doubling down on what makes you special.
So it's not about chasing every opportunity that comes along. It's about finding ways to make your existing activities even more distinctive.
Exactly. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, become even better at what you already excel at. You can do this by offering new features or services that leverage your existing strengths and that your rivals couldn't easily copy.
Can you give me an example of a company that's done this successfully? Carmike Cinemas, who we mentioned earlier, is a great example. They've achieved rapid growth by sticking to their disciplined focus on small markets. They even sell off any big city theaters they acquire through acquisitions. They know their lane and they stay in it, constantly refining their approach to serving that specific market.
That takes discipline. It's easy to get distracted by shiny objects and stray from your core strategy. It seems like strong leadership is essential for maintaining that focus.
Absolutely. You need a leader who understands the power of trade-offs and is willing to say no to tempting opportunities that don't align with the overall strategy. It's about having the courage to be different, even when everyone else is telling you to conform.
So it's not just about having a brilliant strategy document. It's about having a leader who can champion that strategy.
And create a culture where everyone understands.
Precisely. Leaders who get it will cultivate an environment where people understand the company's unique position and how their individual work contributes to it. This makes me think about the concept of strategic continuity, which Porter also emphasizes in the article. Can you talk about why that's so important?
Well, think about it this way. Constantly shifting your strategic position. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sand. You'll never achieve real stability or strength because you're always having to readjust and reconfigure.
And you're always chasing the next big thing, never taking the time to master your current approach.
Yes. And all that reconfiguring, it comes at a cost. You might never truly excel at any of your activities because you're always changing course. On the other hand, a company with a clear and consistent strategy can build up unique capabilities and skills over time. They become masters of their chosen
craft. So consistency breeds expertise. It allows you to refine your approach and really hone your competitive edge. But let's be realistic. The world is constantly changing. New technologies emerge. Customer preferences evolve. How can companies balance the need for continuity with the need to adapt? When does a company need to rethink its strategy?
Of course, there are times when a change in strategy is necessary. Major disruptions in an industry, for example, can render your existing position obsolete.
So it's not about being stubborn or clinging to the past. It's about being aware
of those
fundamental shifts
and knowing when to adapt.
Exactly. But even when you do need to change, your strategy, the same. Core principles apply. You still need to find a unique position, make those tough trade-offs, and create a system where all the pieces fit together. It's not about blindly chasing the latest trend. It's about finding a new way to create a sustainable advantage.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. Porter's article is packed with insights, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. As we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you want our listener to walk away with?
Strategy is about making deliberate choices. It's about understanding your strengths, accepting your limitations, and crafting a unique path that sets you apart from the competition in a world obsessed with best practices. Remember that sometimes the best strategy is to create your own. Best practice. I love that. So it's not just about being better. It's about being different and about constantly refining that
Uh-huh.
difference to stay ahead of the curve. That's a powerful message for anyone trying to navigate the
Yes.
complexities of the business world.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for listening.